What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcast where you hear takes from a washed-up Division III cornerback and his friends. I'm your host, Grayson Jenkins, joined again by my good friends and co-hosts, Ty and Sterb. And in today's episode, we're going to be breaking down our top 5 teams so far through Week 12 at this point in time. And then we're going to be talking Shedeur Sanders a little bit, and then we'll break down our Week 12 picks. And then, as always, give our fantasy sleepers, hot takes, and more to end the episode. So getting right into our top 5 teams, Ty, we'll start off with you. Who is your number 5 team in the NFL right now?
Yeah, at number 5 right now, I have the Indianapolis Colts. This team, I think they've kind of gone down a little bit because I think Daniel Jones has kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but he's still playing well, and just the level that JT, the rest of the offensive talent, and the defense is playing at, this is going to be a Super Bowl contender. They're obviously one of the better teams in the AFC right now, and I think JT, I mean, alone, man, if they even had a halfway decent quarterback, right, a guy a little bit worse than Daniel Jones, just the way that he's playing right now, he's one of those guys that can carry you at least to an AFC Championship game. So the Colts are my number 5 team.
Sterb, who do you have at 5?
Yeah, at 5, it was kind of shaky for me. I won't say like who I was debating between, just to not spoil the other teams in my list, but I ended up going with Baltimore, and this is kind of like banking that they are going to turn the defense around like a little bit. I know Lamar was, banged up. I think he missed some portion of practice again today. I made my list before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to play. Lamar really hasn't. He looks like he's lost a bit of a step, especially rushing the ball. I think that's a lot to do with injury, and maybe he's wanting to extend his longevity as a player and focus more on that passing like he has the past couple of seasons. But I'm probably just going to bet on probably one of the most talented rosters and keep them at 5 right here. But I legitimately think there's 8 or 9 teams that are all, kind of within this very tier of, 3 down to like, you could probably argue 12. So I went with Baltimore here, but it's definitely, it's pretty fluid.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind. I think the Ravens, I'll say this. I didn't have them in my top 10 in the power rankings, but I feel like they're definitely moving up. And we'll see with the rest of the season kind of where they're going. My number 5 team is going to be the Bills. I think that's a team that a lot of people are low on right now, and I think that's fair. Like, it's fair to be low on the Bills. My big thing for them is they have the same number of points for as the Patriots, who a lot of people are higher on than the Bills right now. The Bills' defense was holding them back a little bit, but this team is truly carried by Josh Allen. He kind of re-entered the MVP conversation this past week with 6 touchdowns total, having 3 on the passing game and 3 in the run game. And he's a guy that when he shows up, he can truly just carry the Bills past anyone they face. Like, if Josh Allen shows up and plays the best ability possible, he can win them that game. So I'm going to put them at 5 because I do think that's something a lot of these other teams don't have that are lower than them. Like, a team that just missed were the Lions for me this year. I mean, we just saw them get pretty much strangled on offense by the Eagles, and I think Josh Allen would have been able to handle the pressure better than Jared Goff. So yeah, give me the Bills at 5 here. Ty, who's going to be your team at number 4?
Yeah, my number 4 team is going to be the New England Patriots. Right now, defensively, they're a top 10 unit. Offensively, they're, easily a top 5 unit. And the biggest thing for me that was holding back the Pats for quite some time was just the running game. And then now that Trayvon's kind of, been able to take over that role from Ramondre Stevenson, hopefully they don't revert that when he comes back from injury. But Trayvon's been he's been a monster the past couple of weeks. Obviously, Drake May playing at an MVP level right now. And the weapons around them, although not big names, are making a lot of plays. Even guys like Kyle Williams, who at limited reps, he took a 1 ball, 72 yards for a touchdown when he got a chance. So, and Vrabel just has these guys rolling and on all cylinders. I trust Vrabes. He's had teams in Tennessee go pretty far. He took a Derrick Henry team to, I believe it was the AFC Championship game. So, give me the Pats at 4. I like what they got going right now.
Let me ask you real quick, Ty, because the argument with the Patriots right now, I'm seeing around on social media across NFL podcasts, things like that. They have their schedule defensive or offensively. They haven't had to play a lot of great defenses. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting. I do think that Tampa Bay, although they did not look great defensively last week, I do think that they're a pretty solid defensive unit. They just went against a buzzsaw in that Buffalo offense. But, it's kind of one of those things that I can't hold it against them if I haven't seen it, right? If we saw them go against a top-tier defense and they had no success, that would definitely be concerning. But, they've gone out there, they beat a Tampa, they beat a Buffalo, and they've gone out week in, week out. And I don't maybe the run game would give me a little bit of pause, but the way that Drake May's playing right now, it doesn't give me too much concern. Has he made some bonehead mistakes in some of those bigger games, like interceptions in the red zone or just poorly thrown balls? Yes, but I think a lot of quarterback, he's not going to be perfect, right? So I don't put too much weight on that. When we get there, and we can judge from there. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good reasoning. I mean, you see Josh Allen throw a really bad pick against the Dolphins and just, he's had those moments as well. And I think that Drake May has been playing really solid. And although he has a few mistakes, like it's not going to tear them down completely. Sterb, who's going to be your team at number 4?
Yeah, number 4, I have the Colts. Ty kind of talked about them a bit ago, but when you have a team that's like this much of an offensive juggernaut, it's really, really hard to leave them out of a top 5, even if you expect Daniel Jones to turn it into a pumpkin at some point in the playoffs. And you know what, that may or may not happen, but there's a lot of luck involved in the playoffs to go on a 4-game run of essentially being perfect against top tier teams. So I kind of don't really care about that. And then with my power rankings, they're much more heavily tilted to regular season and the roster rather than, in the playoffs, you're going to lean more towards the quarterbacks that you trust, lean a little more towards the talent. In a single elimination game, would I pick them or the Bills? It's really tough to say because you just trust Josh Allen so much more than Daniel Jones. But I had to give the Colts the nod here and put them at 4.
All right. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. I think that, I'll talk about them when they come up on my list. At number 4, I'm going to go with the Eagles here. We just saw them absolutely strangle the Lions, like I said, defensively. Their offense has yet to figure it out under Kevin Patullo, but I think that their offense will slowly, get back to what it has been. But right now, that their defense is playing absolutely lights out on both across their pass game and their run game. I really like what they're doing all over the defensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball, they need to get A.J. Brown more targets and more production. He did have, I believe, like 6 catches, I want to say, this past week, but he only went for like 40 to 50 yards. So it wasn't like he had a productive game yardage-wise, but they were giving him more targets. And then I want to see Devontae Smith, be a little bit more collaborative with him, get both of those guys targets in the same game. And I think that offense looks a lot better. So Kevin Patullo, once he turns his team around, they move up the ranks a little bit more, but they're in this list for a reason. They've beat good teams this season, and the offense has played well at times, but it just needs to be a cohesive effort between the offense and the defense at the same time. Ty, who's going to be your team at number 3?
Yeah, number 3, I'm going to go with Seattle. Obviously Darnold struggled a little bit this past week, but to be in a game with one of the better teams in the NFC, one of the better teams in the NFL, with a quarterback throwing four interceptions and only lose by 2 points, it says a lot about the rest of the squad around him, right? Obviously, defensively, under Mike McDonald, this defense is raring and on all cylinders, right? We've talked about this for quite some time now and kind of predicted it for a bit. Like, McDonald's going to get this defense going. There's a lot of the talent there. Offensively, right, I think it was a blip for Darnold. Is it a little bit concerning? Yes, but I think that he's played so well the rest of the season, right, that I don't know. For me, it's not too concerning. We did see Kenneth Walker start to get going more. JSN's obviously an Offensive Player of the Year candidate. He's an absolute dog. This team, when you look at it, it's about as complete as it gets, right? You don't have as much faith in Darnold as you have in Josh Allen, but they have a lot of things going well for them. And when you got a head coach as good as Mike McDonald, it's going to make you one of the better teams in the NFL. So yeah, give me Seattle at 3.
Sterb, who's going to be your team at number 3?
Yeah, so this might get some hate, but I do still have the Chiefs at the 3rd best team in the NFL. I realize that they're 5-5.
Distraught. He is distraught.
Ty's distraught.
I'm not even distraught. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I know that like this team has a worse record than the Panthers right now, but it's kind of just like a trust the tape thing a little bit. Trust the QB, trust the head coach. I will say they are getting a little stale, and that is kind of concerning for me. That's kind of why I said there's like a whole expanded tier from like 3 to 12 for me, where you could put these teams in any order and I wouldn't really bat an eye. But I do think the offense is going to turn it around to where they've been at for the first, or not including this past week, but like the 3 or 4 weeks before that. I think they're going to get Rashid going a little bit. You don't play the Denver Broncos defense every week, so that's not really an outlier. It's more of an indicator, but I don't particularly buy into, the Chiefs offense just being dead for the rest of the season. And I think the defense can play at like a top 10-ish level. And then on like a game-to-game basis, Spagnuolo, I trust him to game plan. I trust Andy Reid to game plan. I trust Mahomes to execute. It's just, this team does feel like it's got some cobwebs on it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like a little stale. There's not a whole lot of juice to the offense when they can't just like, when the Rashee Rice thing really isn't working, and you're just like forcing them targets and they're inefficient, and you have a Denver defense that can rally and tackle. This team has some works on it, but I'm keeping it number 3. I don't want to drop them like too far, just because the Chiefs have been proving people wrong when they drop them over and over and over again. So I'm going to hold on. I'm going to keep the candle on just a little bit longer. This might make me look stupid, but I'm keeping the Chiefs at 3, even though they're an even record right now.
Considering how alive my prophecy is at this point in time, I'm very surprised by them being at 3. I will say, like, I expected the prophecy to be up in flames by now after they start off slow. I expected them to kind of bounce back. For the last couple of weeks, they've shown signs of life, right? Like, I think we've seen them have glimpses of being the Chiefs again. But then, I mean, Denver, right? Their defense is playing absolutely lights out, like you said. Like, that is more of an attribute to Denver than it is a negative from Kansas City. So I definitely think the Broncos are higher. They should be higher than them, but I understand the reasoning. Yeah, my team at number 3, speaking of the devil, I have the Broncos there at number 3. I think their defense is playing at an absolutely insane level without Patrick Surtain, right? And we see Riley Moss, like Ty's brought up on this podcast, being called for penalties that he may or may not be committing, and that might be, there's some racial profiling there. Just because it's a white boy doesn't mean he can't cover. Like, stop assuming that he's fouling when he has good defense. All right, I hate that. As a former white corner myself, I gotta stand with my boys. But the Broncos team, their defense is what is really keeping these games. I believe, what was it, the 2015 Super Bowl? That was the year where their offense was struggling, but the defense was able to keep them into so many games, and the reason they won the Super Bowl in the end. So, I mean, I think the Broncos are a team. Bo Nix has shown he's able to make plays in the end game. He's been pretty clutch this year at times, and he hasn't been solid for 4 quarters. I don't believe, like, he hasn't had a single game where he's just balled out every single quarter yet. Once he puts that together, I think they'll be really scary. And I think, I will say, at the beginning of the season, I picked the Broncos to win the division. I think they're going to, and I think Bo Nix will start getting a little bit better towards the end of the year. Ty, what are your thoughts on that? Just, I know, talked about the Broncos, and I don't know if you have them at 2. If you have them at 2, you can.
Yeah, I do have them at 2, and I will talk about them a little bit more. But to your point about Bo, I think this past game was his best game yet.
It definitely was good.
That's against,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 300 yards. It's not in the gaudy touchdown numbers, right? But the throws were there. It was just the drops continue to be a problem.
Yeah.
Who had a good game? But who had a good game, Ty?
A lot of really good throws. That throw to Franklin on the sideline was a throw that Pat Bryant, good game. That throw to Franklin on the sideline up the left hash was a throw that I'm lagging the shit out of this too, but that throw up the sideline to Troy Franklin on the left-hand side, that was a throw that Bo and Franklin haven't connected on in all season long. And you could kind of see the progress with him. Like, he started to settle his feet a little bit more. The announcer started to talk about it. And that was a huge thing with him, right? He just played too fast. But if you slow the game down for him, he's talented, he's accurate, he's got a good arm. And we saw that last week. And, I will say he did have a 4-quarter game against Dallas as well, but Dallas defense sucks. But, this was the most impressive one for him by far. I think Denver overall as a team, right, defensively, dogs. They did this to Pat Mahomes without Pat Surtain, your defensive player of the year, without Alex Singleton, your tackle leader, without Jonah Ellis, your number 3 edge rusher, without J.K. Dobbins, the 5th rusher in the NFL, right? Ben Powers, your left guard, right? Like, I mean, they're just and no excuses, right? They go out there, they perform, right? It would be easy to be like, damn, we don't have Surtain. How are we going to stop Rashee Rice? They go out there, they dominate, they force Mahomes into stupid mistakes, right? If they don't call that stupid freaking PI on Riley, Jahdae Barron has a pick 6 on Mahomes. Jaquan gets a pick. Jaquan has 2 sacks on him, right? The defense is what's going to carry this team. And it's very eerily similar to 2015, right? That offense was horrendous. Peyton Manning was on his way out. CJ Anderson was a pretty good running back, and that defense was dominant. And I think, this is a better offense than that. I'm not willing to say it's a better defense than that, but it's right on the same level as that. And so for me, Denver, I mean, I don't know, well coached, good special teams. That's the other thing. Marvin Mims is one of the best punt returners in the NFL, and Will Lutz is just a clutch kicker. When you add in those pieces to an already really good defense and a decent offense, one is that is top 10 in a lot of statistics. It's a recipe for success.
Shout out to the Saints legend Will Lutz. Just real quick, we let him go, and we've been searching for a kicker ever since.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Yeah, that one hurts. That one hurts for
know.
sure. Sterb, who's going to be your team at number 2?
Yeah, number 2, I have the Seahawks. They obviously pick up the 2-point loss against the Rams this week. But as Ty said, if you're within like 2 points of arguably the best team in the NFL, and your quarterback threw 4 interceptions, and you still had like a 60-yard field goal look to win the game at the end of the game, it's not quite a moral victory, but it's like, okay, we can hang in there with the best of them. And Sam Darnold, he's another one of these quarterbacks that you don't really trust in the playoffs and big moments. But again, I've kind of explained that like I don't really buy into that much, because it takes one game in the playoffs for that to like flip a narrative, or one game to not happen to flip that narrative. And then, the next thing you're in the Super Bowl, you're in the NFC Championship game. So I don't really care about that too much. And again, this is tilted towards regular season. And like Ty said, I'm wondering if they were kind of using Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker in more of a 50-50 split throughout this, or up until this point in the season, to kind of save Kenneth Walker for the second half. I don't think that would be the best decision to have, just because injuries aren't super predictable, and Kenneth Walker could get injured, whether he's having 50% of the rushes or 60-70% of the rushes. So I don't know. I really want them to use Walker more, but I think Mike McDonald came out and said that like, oh yeah, he's earning more touches. We want to see him get the ball more. But I think they should give him probably 70% of the touches, like I said, and then maybe your run game starts to turn it around. I know Gray Zabel went down in this game, so that's kind of a big hit. He was a guy who was like kind of sleeper for offensive rookie of the year if you weren't valuing premium positions. But I have Seattle at 2, and I didn't even mention their defense. Their defense to me is easily top 3 in the league, and it's kind of just carrying them in games where Darnold is playing well or he's not. So that's a consistent part of their team. Darnold, kind of take what you can get, but I got the Seahawks at 2.
Yeah, I definitely debated having the Seahawks in my list. I ended up leaving them off. They're a close miss. The big reason was Darnold, and I'm not the biggest truster of him. I think he's a little bit iffy, and he did just I'm going to be honest here. I have him in fantasy in one of our dynasty leagues, and he put up negative points for me, and that leaves a negative effect in the brain. All right, I can't.
Laughing.
I mean, 4 interceptions is alarming.
It is, and a couple of them were really bad. Like he had the one jump ball pass pick that I'm like,
that was bad. That was
what the hell are we doing? I'm like, dude, that was insane. I'm sitting here driving home from Charlotte, right? I'm just sitting here. I got it on my not on my dash, but in like the phone holder and like a mini screen, and I'm listening to Red. I'm listening to Red Zone, and I hear, oh, Darnold jumps into the line, throws it, and it's intercept. I'm like, this was a third or fourth pick too, and so this at
Anytime
this point,
you hear Darnold jumps,
I'm losing my mind, right? And I will say, like in the first half of the 1 o'clock slates, I had like 112 points. I was projected 188, and then every single person in the second half slate just absolutely shit the bed. And I was just pissed sitting there in my car. I got 3 hours left to drive, and all of my players are shit in the bed. Sam Darnold's putting up negative points as a quarterback. That's why the Seahawks are in my list. I hate Sam Darnold, even though I pray that he turns it around and is good for my fantasy team. But anyways, I want to say their defense is absolutely insane right now. Mike McDonald is cooking, and it's a bad look for the Ravens to let him walk the way that Harbaugh has kind of been coaching the last few years. If they were able to, have McDonald as a head coach instead, that maybe their defense would still be what it once was, and it's still really talented. So anyways, my number 2 team is going to be the Colts. You guys obviously had them in the list, but a little bit lower, and I'm perfectly fine with that. That it's just, to me, they have JT, who is the MVP. I think he will keep them in whatever games they really need him to, because teams are still hitting him at the line, and he's breaking tackles and breaking huge explosive plays, even when he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage or at the line of scrimmage. And I think that's something that's really, really impressive. Their defense, I believe, is only allowed like 206 points per game, which is not obviously
points per game.
Not points this season. You're right. Points this season.
Bad, but it wasn't that
bad. which is solid. Like, you're not asking for too much from them, because their offense is very, very much balanced. Like, I think they trust all of their offensive pass catchers and the running back and Daniel Jones. As long as they don't allow a lot of pressure in the rest of these games or in the playoff game, I think you can trust them enough to keep them in this game. And then you're riding on JT to carry you to the top. But I like the Colts at number 2, just because they've really just balled out this year and exceeded all expectations. So I'm a little bit higher on them. Ty, who's going to be your team at number 1? And I think we're all going to be unanimous here.
Yeah, it's going to be the LA Rams. You don't got to say much about this team. I mean, they just beat the number 3 team on my list. Offensively, they're a juggernaut. Matt Stafford is, for some reason, flying under the radar as an MVP candidate, and he just feels like he throws like 4 touchdowns a week, very quietly. I know he's got great weapons, but like, I don't know, put Jimmy G in, he's probably not doing the same thing, right? Like, Stafford is a special quarterback, especially at his age with some of the injury problems that he's had. He's been awesome. And the defense, I think, the front 7, obviously, coming into the season, we knew they were going to be good. The back half of the secondary has impressed me, honestly. I mean, you get 4 interceptions this past week. Obviously, Darnold, some of them were just stupid, but they've come out and made big plays when they needed them. Think about the Indianapolis game, right? Cam Curl had a big interception. They have made timely plays and kind of made a name for themselves between Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, some of these other guys. They've just slowly gotten better and just, trust the process. And I think it says a lot when, a guy like Chris Shula, their defensive coordinator, is getting talked about head coach jobs. Obviously, the connection with his father or grandfather, Don Shula, weighs a little bit, but, that defense is balling on another level. They're probably top 5 right now for me. I think Houston, Seattle, Denver are probably all above them, but they're a close 4 or 5. And with the way the offense is running, they're just a juggernaut. And for this team, right? Like, they're the type of team that even if they lost to Kyren Williams, I would feel just as confident in Blake Corum or Jarquez Hunter. I would feel decent about him getting some carries, right? They feel like a team that that they draft so well. Their depth is so good. At receiver, right? Like, they lose a guy, Jordan Winding steps up. Tutu Atwell steps up. Tight end, Higbee, Ferguson, right? They have guys that, maybe they're not world beaters, but they have a ton of depth that comes out and can perform. So give me the Rams at 1.
Sterb, I'm assuming you're going to agree with Ty here.
No, I got the Saints. No, I'm kidding. I have the Rams at 1 as well. Before this past game, it was like, oh yeah, all these contenders, they have one fatal flaw, and for the Rams, it's obviously the secondary. I'm kind of with Ty here. I didn't really think the secondary was that bad even before this game. You got a lot of guys that you didn't have a lot of faith in going into the season, but secondary play, as we know, was probably the most volatile among position groups, where like, a guy who's kind of left for dead and Emmanuel Forbes comes in here and is making plays on a week-to-week basis. That's, very, very impressive. And other than that, I feel like they have the least flaws out of any team. Like, you can kind of point to like a big thing with all the rest of these teams and be like, oh, this, I don't know. But with the Rams, it's like, I guess the secondary is the weakest part of their team, but even then it's really, really not that bad. So that front seven, awesome. Stafford, awesome. You got a top 3 head coach, top 3 play caller. And the weapons are pretty incredible. So I think the Rams are, they should be number 1 on probably everyone's list right now. Even if you have Seattle in the same tier, you kind of got to give the nod to them just because they beat them by 2. But it's up for debate. But I got the Rams here at 1. Pretty
I'll add
handy.
this before Jenks hops in too. Their biggest weakness, and this might get some hate, might be Kyron Williams. I mean, with the fumbling issues and the way that he's got to cost them games, he could. He's a very talented back, but he could be their biggest weakness.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Tyz. He has been very, very impressive athletically and with talent. Like, he makes really good plays at times, and then he'll cough up a crucial fumble to end a game, like he did against the Eagles and things like that. So, like you said, like, he might be the weakest link. And I will add to your point. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I think he's a very very slightly above replacement level back, or like average level back, to the point where it's like Blake Corum in this offense probably looks just about the exact same. But
yeah, I would say Corum is like a little bit below him, but yeah, I don't disagree with either of you guys. Like, if you put him in, like, he'd still be able to succeed in this offense. And I think that's, when you have Matt Stafford, especially like Ty, you were talking about like the weapons, if one of the weapons went down or things like that, like, he has the ability to look off defenders. He's one of those like last quarterbacks from when we first started watching football. Like, they're so intelligent that they know what the defense is doing and how they can manipulate the defense on any given play or coverage to succeed. So that definitely helps them in why they are number 1. And I will say this real quick, like, that AD Mitchell fumble, it has a huge ripple effect on how we view these teams. Like, if that didn't happen, maybe we all have the Colts at 1 instead of 2, like, and they just have that one loss. And I think it's something that the NFL is all about, right? Like, one play really changes a season or things like that. And we always say football isn't a one play sport, but there are times where like one play will change the season or impact games, things like that. So it's an interesting thing to discuss. But that'll do it for our top 5 teams. My list were the Bills at 5, Eagles at 4, Broncos 3, Colts 2, Rams 1. Ty's list was the Colts at 5, Patriots 4, Seahawks 3, Broncos 2, Rams 1, and Sterb's was Ravens 5, Colts 4, Chiefs 3, Seahawks 2, and Rams 1. And at 6-7, I had the Lions and the Patriots. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on to Shedeur Sanders, our Shedeur Sanders discussion. Just to bring up, Shedeur Sanders, right? He comes in this past week with Dylan Gabriel getting concussed. He ends up going, I believe he had 4 completions on 16 attempts, which is a 25% completion percentage. And he had 47 yards and averaged 2.9 yards per, I think that's attempt. So it's not good. He had an interception as well. That was pretty bad. So what are your guys' thoughts on Shedeur Sanders? And let me pull up the tape here as well to show for everyone listening out there, watching out there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was not high on him before the season in the pre-draft process. Obviously I had him. Yeah, I mean, this is just horrendous. It's just so slow, right? But, I had him below Jackson Dart coming in because my biggest thing with him was he drifted in the pocket, which you just saw there. He held onto the ball for too long, and he wasn't a great athlete, didn't have a strong arm. He was an accurate quarterback, but we saw him against Big 12 defenses that historically are not great, and then we saw him come out this past week, and people will make a big fuss about he didn't get reps with the ones, and the O line's never heard his cadence, and I mean, like, I'm sure they've heard his cadence for one. I don't even know what that means. Like, has he never gotten a rep in practice? Not getting rep with the ones. I mean, that's pretty typical of a backup quarterback, but we've seen backup quarterbacks come in. Joe Flacco literally had 2 days of practice with a team and didn't even know the playbook, and he went out there and looked good. Obviously, different levels to it, right? But I don't know. I've never been high on Shedeur. I never understood all the hype. I understand, Deion's son, but he wasn't even that good in college. And you kind of saw him just come out and give a stinker. And I think it's an indictment on him too that one, he hasn't gotten a single rep with the ones with as bad as everyone said Dylan Gabriel's been. But then Kevin Stefanski came out and said, when Dylan Gabriel is healthy, he is our starter. So Shedeur Sanders is going to come out. He's going to start this weekend. When Dylan Gabriel clears the concussion protocol, he's probably going to be the starter the following week. And Gabriel, say what you want about him, but he had them beating the Ravens, right? He did enough to, not make mistakes, let his defense make plays, let his running back do what he had to do, right? They're at their best, of course, when Judkins is playing well and their defense is playing well. But, Gabriel wasn't doing anything stupid. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but he at least puts them in a better position to win than Shedeur Sanders. This is a team that's going to draft a quarterback this coming season, whether it's Mendoza, whether it's Simpson, whoever ends up coming out, Dante Moore. But, Gabriel just hasn't done enough, and Shedeur Sanders did more than enough to prove in one spot start that he is not an NFL quarterback.
Sterb, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Ty kind of summed it up pretty well. You guys were probably a little lower on Shedeur than me. Like I think he was my QB2 in the draft. Even then, I didn't really feel comfortable with taking him in the first round, just because he's very, very athletically limited, and his decision making is just it's really, really poor. And like Ty said, the first team reps, we don't give that excuse to any other backup quarterback. Like Josh Dobbs, we've seen him, come in and switch teams. We've seen Baker Mayfield switch teams. We've seen Joe Flacco switch teams. These guys are not on the same teams, and they're coming out and performing at like baseline levels. And this guy is like so far below baseline right now. It's not even serious. Like you guys said, he was 4 for 16. This is a good example of quarterbacks creating their own pressure. Next Gen Stats has them at a pressure rate of 52.4%. That was the amount of, dropbacks under which Shedeur was pressured. But if you watch him, like we just watched on the tape, that's him holding onto the ball. And the time to throw hasn't come out yet. But Jenks, you said someone on Twitter said it was like above 4.
It's a 4.24.
4.2. Yeah, you can't play quarterback like that. It's about a second over, the guys who hold onto the ball the absolute longest. And the doubling back thing is just absolutely horrible. It looks like he gave like an 8-year-old a Madden controller and like told him he was playing with like Caleb Williams. That's kind of what it looks like. So, I mean, this guy's he's not starter level, and all the excuses are, they're excuses, I guess. And yeah, he didn't have any first team reps, but neither does literally any other quarterback. And you're losing your job to a guy who's supposed to be a way worse prospect than you. So that it's not about excuse.
Yeah, and to your point, Sterb, about the what reps with the ones, Tyler Shuck has been talked about by Nick Underhill, Ross Jackson, all of the beat reporters as he was not getting any reps at all with any of the ones, things like that throughout this whole entire season. He came in the Bucs game. I want to pull up the stats here. In the Bucs game, he was 17 of 30 for 128 yards, had a pick, but it was purely due to Chris Olave dropping the ball, purely. And then the second game, 15-24 against the Rams, who are a really good team, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. And this past week, balled out. But immediately in that Bucs game, even though he came in when they were down by 20 points, and they had a shot, like the Shedeur Sanders had a shot against the Ravens, to come in and score and win them the game. Tyler Shuck was down 20, wasn't able to really do much, but he showed that he had at least could be something, right? You complete 4 out of 16 passes when you come to the game, and a lot of it is due to you're late on your reads, bad making decisions, inaccurate, all 3 things you don't want from a quarterback. Like, it's a bad look. It doesn't matter if you're getting reps with ones or not. Like, you're an NFL, if you are an NFL quarterback, you should be able to do those things. And it's just not not a good look at all.
I'll add this too. The most disappointing thing was not going to shake Lamar Jackson's hand after the game, the sitting on the bench and sulking when you went 4 for 16. Like, I don't know. That just shows me like what kind of a man you are, what kind of a leader you are. Like, just no respect there. Like,
And he didn't want to be on the Ravens in the first place because he wouldn't have had a shot to play. Like I think that's
which he would have
exactly. And so it is an absolutely insane situation. And let me say this, like this wasn't even a conversation. The Saints took Jake Haener in the 4th round, a round ahead of Shedeur Sanders. He came in, he played like ass, and everyone knew he was ass. Everyone was like, okay, the guy he's not a starter. Like, that's just how it works. Of course, Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, the name comes with it. So people are like, you actually have to give him a shot. And it's just the dichotomy of what people are examining this as in comparison to other guys that have been drafted in the same round or situation. It just doesn't make any sense. And let me say this, like, when Shedeur Sanders is doubling back, like you said, Sterb, if he was fast, maybe it would work. Like, we've seen Caleb Williams get out of insane situations in the past few weeks. Like, he's been just avoiding sacks at an extremely high level. You see Shedeur Sanders trying to get out of space and get out of pressure, and it just does not work at all. He's not mobile enough. He's not athletic enough.
It didn't even work in college.
Yeah. He had the worst net pass. Like, he had the worst, like, lost yardage to sacks by a massive number. And it's just, it boggles my mind, the conversations people are having about Shedeur. And maybe he proves us all wrong, right? Maybe he comes in this week and plays well. I don't think that will happen, but he could. Like, I'm not going to say that he can't. I'm not going to say there's a 0% chance that he does that. But anyways, and we'll get into that.
Close to 0.
It's pretty close. Yeah.
We'll break down.
He might eat his lunch.
And we'll break down that game in just a minute. But I think that's everything we have for Shedeur Sanders. I just want to see these discussions, like, get a little bit maintained or taken down, because it is literally like people are paying people on Twitter to defend Shedeur Sanders. And I will say it was almost like that with Spencer Rattler against when Tyler Shuck started to succeed this past week. Like, there are Saints fans out there would be like, Spencer Rattler would be doing the same exact thing. And it's like, I see it to a point, but at the same time, like, he didn't. So it is a tough conversation to be had. There stands out there.
Rattler.
Yes, I know Sterb is a Rattler stand.
Keep Shuck in as long as he's playing well, but still.
Sterb's ready to hop back on the Rattler agenda. Anyways, moving on to our week 12 picks. We got a weekly leaderboard up here. At number 1, we got Ryan. He jumped past Ty this week. Ty at number 2 at 112 and 51. Sorry, Ryan was at 113 and 50. Cooper's in 3rd at 111.52. King Raw and the Phoenix Fluffer at 5, 110. I'm at 10th at 106 wins. Hammer is at 12th at 104 wins. Sterb
hanging on for dear life.
He's down here at 19th.
Yeah. I think someone stopped making their picks, so that's why I'm not in 20th. But don't look at the people missing games ahead of me. Don't look at that.
It's not the best. And so we'll move on to our week 12 picks here. Starting off on Thursday night football, you got the Bills taking on the Texans. The Bills, just coming off that Josh Allen game where he absolutely took over. The Texans on the other side, coming out of a game where they were close with the Titans, and it's still questionable if CJ Stroud will be back for this one. Their defense is playing at an absolutely absurd level, but their offense is struggling to find points at times. And I think Davis Mills, he's a solid quarterback, solid backup quarterback. The conversations being had are unreasonable right now. I think CJ Stroud will 100% be better than what he is. But give me the Bills here in this one. I still think they're able to, Josh Allen's going to score a couple more touchdowns than Davis Mills. So I'm going to give the Bills the win in this one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me Buffalo. I think it could be close because Houston's defense is really good, but give me Buffalo.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me Buffalo as well. Jenks, if you had to go into next season with the Saints, let's say there's no quarterbacks on the Saints anymore, would you rather have Davis Mills or Shedeur?
Davis Mills by a very large margin. Yes. Because he's at least shown it when he plays. Like, he's shown NFL level plays. So until I see that from Shedeur, I'm not taking him over any of these guys starting this week. Anyways, moving on to the Jets taking on the Ravens. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, the Jets starting Tyrod Taylor this week, finally off of Justin Fields after he, last week their weapons didn't look terrible, right? John Mechie made a big play, got a touchdown. A.D. Mitchell, the biggest one for me was he was cooking Christian Gonzalez left and right, and Justin Fields just could not connect with him. I think, as void of talent as this team may be defensively, offensively, they have some low-key young talent that, you bring in a guy like Fernando Mendoza this offseason, they could have some success, but, not right now. I don't think Tyrod's really going to change much. I think maybe he'll hit on some of those other throws, but he came in against Carolina and threw 2 picks right to J.C. Horn. So, and it's not even a sure thing that he will be able to stay healthy throughout a game because we've seen him be banged up not only this year but throughout his career. So, Baltimore on the flip side, they're starting to get something rolling defensively, playing a lot better. Obviously, Lamar is back. I don't necessarily think this is a close one. Give me Baltimore.
Yeah, give me the Ravens here as well. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I get the Ravens.
Yeah, this is a week. Let me say this real quick. This week, there's some pretty lopsided matches. There's a couple close ones, but it'll be a lot of us picking the same team, I feel like. Anyways, moving on to the Steelers taking the Bears. Sterb, who do you got?
When Chicago's on offense, I mean, this Bears offense is just absolutely humming right now. It feels like they're clicking on everything. They're firing on all cylinders. Ben Johnson just kind of has it all together. Caleb this past game, looks like he can't be tackled. It's kind of everything that you wanted to see, and it was always going to take, probably at least half a season. A lot of people gave up on the Bears, but to me, this was always going to be a long-term thing. And the fact that you're on top of the NFC North right now is just icing on the cake. You're really building this team and bringing in Ben Johnson, not for a 1-year turnaround, but for the next 5, 6, 7, hopefully years. So when Pittsburgh is on offense, it's this Bears defense is pretty bad as well. It's on both sides. It's kind of just going to be some very, very poor defensive play. I will say Chicago, they've been turning around a little bit on the linebacker front. I gave their linebackers a lot of flack earlier in the year, and they've been getting healthier along with just a little bit better, but the secondary is still terrible. But Pittsburgh on offense, Aaron Rodgers may or may not go in this game. He's up in the air right now. I really think that he's going to give everything he can to try and play Chicago for one last time. And maybe he plays them next year. I don't know. But Rodgers, it's kind of falling off a little bit. He just looks like he doesn't really have his fastball anymore. It's a lot of quick game. Teams are starting to figure out that, if you just bracket DK Metcalf, they have really no other suitable weapons other than Darnell Washington, who I will say is pretty awesome to watch. Also, Jalen Warren didn't practice today. Kenneth Gainwell is probably one of the better. Yeah, he's like a fair RB2, I'd say. Really known for his pass catching work in this season, but you obviously would still want Warren. I kind of just think it doesn't really matter. I think Chicago's gonna roll in this one, no matter whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph out there, just because their offense is so good right now, and then both of these defenses are pretty terrible. So give me Chicago.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My parents were asking if I'm still recording, and yes, I am. Anyways, yeah, I was going to say real quick, I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to be back next year. I think that they add some pass catchers, they can definitely be a successful offense, but I'm going to take the Bears here in this one. Ty, who do you got?
I'm going to take the Bears here too. I do like Roman Wilson as an emerging option that, he started to get a little bit more involved. He's kind of taking Calvin Austin's snaps over the past couple of weeks, had a good week 2 weeks ago. But one interesting nugget, Will Howard is likely going to take first team reps this week. That's just, something I wanted to put out there into the world. But give me the Bears.
All right. Moving on from that one, we got the Patriots taking on the Bengals. The Bengals, right? There's talks about Joe Burrow possibly coming in and playing this week. I don't think it happens. And if it is something that does occur, it's not smart for this team, right? I don't think Joe Burrow's a guy. I don't believe this team has any shot at making the playoffs. I don't think they should risk getting their quarterback hurt again in this season. It would just truly be devastating for this franchise. The Patriots are balling out right now. This isn't a team that I think they have a shot at winning. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Joe Flacco comes in. Jamar Chase is going to be out for this. He's going to be suspended. their offense is going to be down one of their key players. T. Higgins is going to have to take over to truly beat this team, but he's going to be guarded by Christian Gonzalez, and that's going to be tough. So Andre Yosevas, I don't want to spoil any like fantasy sleepers. He's not mine. Hopefully, I didn't mean to spoil anything there, but I think he'll be solid this week. But I think the Patriots win this one in the end. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Patriots too. I think if Flacco plays, they don't really have any chance, especially with Jamar out. I think if Joe plays, they have a better chance because he's just a better quarterback and he gives this team a chance anytime that he's out there. But give me New England.
Sterb, what do you got?
Yeah, last time I checked, Joe Burrow's not a defensive superstar, so I don't think they really have a shot on that side of the ball. So give me the Patriots as well.
Exactly. Moving on to the Giants taking on the Lions. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, it looks like Jackson Dart might be back this week. He was back at practice today. I don't really think that it matters either way, right? Detroit obviously got, kind of shellacked last week by Philly, but anytime that we've seen them get shellacked, they've kind of come back the next week and just absolutely dominated. Think back to Green Bay and then what they did next week to Chicago. I believe they did it one other time this season, but this is, again, one of those Detroit, they get shellacked and then they come back, they have their bounce back game. That's going to be this game against the Giants. I think the Giants, they've been able to remain competitive in a lot of games because they have a pretty good defense and Jackson Dart is playing at a pretty good level right now, but it's Detroit, so give me the Lions.
Yeah, I'll take the Lions here too over the Giants. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got the Lions as well. Like Ty said, they're probably the biggest bounce back candidates in the NFL when they take a tough loss in prime time to a good team, and then they're playing the poor Giants the next week. It's just not going to be pretty. So give me the Lions.
Moving on to the Vikings taking on the Packers, a fun one. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, it's just kind of a weird game because both offenses I thought were going to be a little better at this point in the season. Obviously, Tucker Kraft goes down for the Packers, and then 9 over there for the Vikings. He's really not that good, unfortunately. I was definitely the highest on the panel, and it seems that I just keep taking my L's apparently. So 19th in the Pickem group. Let's go. But I think that Minnesota is probably just going to try and keep the ball on the ground with Aaron Jones. They've been giving him more and more work as he's come back from injury. And then on defense, you hope you can fool Jordan Love into throwing, one of his questionable picks. He's definitely liable to do that. But Josh Jacobs, I think, is a pretty big swing factor in this game, just because you have that Brian Flores defense. You want to, even if I do have a lot of faith in Jordan Love, you kind of want to eliminate the number of pass attempts that he has in this game, as you would with any other quarterback against the Vikings as well. And you want to just keep the ball on the ground, run the clock out like they haven't really been able to do all season. But, hopefully you can take care of it in this one. I'm going to bet on what I think is the more talented team at this point and the team with the better quarterback. And I'm just going to go with the Packers here.
Yeah, 9 is dog shit. Give me the Packers. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, he is. Go Pack, go.
Moving on to the Colts taking on the Chiefs. This one's a fun matchup, right? I mean, the Colts just coming out of bye week, the Chiefs coming off a loss to the Broncos. So you never really know like how that can go. Both teams coming off, Colts are going to be rested, but the Chiefs are going to be hungry for a win. The Colts are a team, like I just said, they're my number 2 team in the league for a reason. The Chiefs offense has looked stale at times, but their offense, Travis Kelce definitely had a little bit of a flash of him being back last week. But I do still think the Colts are the better team. I think JT should be able to do what JT does. Give me the Colts to beat the Chiefs in this one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts here too. I'm not concerned about this Chiefs team at all. They haven't had a sack in the fourth quarter this season. Defensively, they're just not great right now, and offensively, right? I don't know. I'm a little concerned about Andy Reid coming out and kind of bashing his quarterback for not handing the ball off on RPOs. I'm a little concerned about Pat Mahomes not being able to connect on deep balls to Xavier Worthy, who's kind of cooking. Like, I don't know. This is a game that if they lose this, I think they're officially out of the playoff race. There's no way that you can go down to six losses when you still have to play Denver. You still have to play the Chargers, the Cowboys, the Texans, who at this point might be equally as good of a team as them. So yeah, give me the Colts here.
Yeah.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, last week I picked the Chiefs with the logic that the Chiefs weren't going to go to an even record, and that might be 19th place logic here, but I'm willing to die on my sword and pick the Chiefs in this one. I do think that they're going to make the playoffs, and to do that, they kind of have to win this game. That's kind of how I'm thinking. Again, I'm last place in the standings. You probably want to pick against me if you've learned anything from these episodes, but I'm sticking with the Chiefs in this one. I'll stop picking them once they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, I suppose. But yeah.
Moving on to the Seahawks taking on the Titans. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, apparently I get to cover all the worst games possible. The Titans suck.
Game of the week.
The Titans suck. They're the. I think they. I'm willing to say that they're probably the worst team in the NFL right now. The Jets, I mean, at least have shown a little bit more talent at times. And, Seattle, they're due for a bounce back after last game, right? Their defense is they're going to be all over Cam Ward. And then offensively, right, I need to see more Kenneth Walker. I loved what we saw from him this past week. Like Sterb said, give him 70% of the carries. He's a more athletic back. He's just more the explosive back. Like, he just brings more to the table than Zach Charbonnet. Not to say Charbonnet is a bad back. He's just not. He's a give him 5, 6, 7 carries in a game. So it's I don't know. It's Darnold's going to bounce back here. Him and JSN are going to have a big day because the Tennessee defense they're not great. They're not great at all. They're like I said, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. It's going to be Seattle.
Yeah, give me the Seahawks too. I'm ready to see a Shaheed breakout game. I don't know if it'd be this week, but I just don't know what they're doing with him and his speed. I want to get him.
I forgot he was there.
Yeah, him and Sam Darnold need to get on the same page quick. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got the Seahawks in this one. I think it's going to be, possibly a pick six, 2 more picks, and then like 6 or 7 sacks from the Seahawks defense. So it's going to get ugly fast, probably.
Moving on to the Jags taking on the Cardinals. Sterb, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, Jenks keeps giving me this team, even though I refuse to talk about them. They had a record breaker on their team last week, and a very unexpected performance from a wide receiver 3. But in terms of the team that I'm willing to discuss, because I'm not so disappointed in them. Actually, I'm pretty disappointed in them as well. This is like the disappointment bowl. But the Jags, like, Basil Tootin last week, he looked very, very good. He looked like, he's getting 50% of the carries. It might be a second half rookie takeover for him and ETN. And then they're kind of just mauling the Chargers, and it looks like they couldn't do anything to stop them. The opposing defense is like, it's fine. It's injured. It's banged up. It's not that great. But Jacksonville, it's just a matter of whether, Trevor Lawrence is going to lose you the game or not. And I feel like that's what most of their games come down to. It's whether he makes like a boneheaded decision or if he's going to be just like a solid, QB 17 or 18 on the week, not in terms of fantasy, but like in terms of how he plays. The Jags defense has been like turning around a little bit. Obviously, you hold the Chargers to 6 points, but that was more a product of, the Chargers offensive line being like absolutely terrible. It's kind of like mouthwash for a bad defensive unit. You just play the Chargers, you're feeling good about yourself. It's a confidence booster going into the next week. So I'm going the Jags here. I just think they're probably a little bit better of a team. And yeah, this is just the disappointment bowl, but I'm going with the Jags here.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jags here too. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jags here too. I think they now go up 3 games on the Chiefs in the wild card. And I will say this. I think, sure, the Chargers offensive line's terrible. A lot more about that Jaguars defense turning around is Devin Lloyd coming back, Trayvon Walker
for sure.
being healthy. Those 2 are absolute game changers for this team. So, but give me the Jags.
Yeah, let me say this real quick. Going back to that fantasy matchup where Sam Darnold scored negative points, Trey McBride also scored 37 points against me, all in like the 3rd or 4th quarter. And so I looked at the fantasy score after just being up 30 points, and I was down. So Trey McBride killed me. But I think the Jaguars will be able to win this one. Anyways, moving on to the Browns taking on the Raiders. Ty, you said I was giving you all the bad games. this is the worst game on the slate, and here's what I have to say about it. This should be the lowest viewed NFL game.
I'm gonna throw up.
What?
If I hear Jerry Jeudy, I'm gonna throw up.
I'm not talking about no Jerry Jeudy. Not talking about him. Anyways, getting me flustered already. Anyway, I think this team, right, or this game, it should be the lowest viewed NFL game in like a decade. Like, that's how bad and devout a talent both of these teams are. That being said, Shedeur Sanders is going to give this game a significant bump just because all those Shedeur stands and believers are going to tune in, which just pisses me off. That being said, I am going to take the Browns to win this game purely because I think their defense gets them 1 to 2 touchdowns, and they end up winning a game by like 3 points, and it's like a 10-7 kind of game. I think they're able to win in this one. Anyways, Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a crapshoot, this game. If you're tuning into this, I hope you're watching Myles Garrett and Max Crosby only and the havoc that they wreak. With that being said, man, I'm just looking at my pick like, who the hell do I want? I'm going to go. Give me the Raiders. Give me the Raiders. I can't trust it.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me Cleveland here. Myles Garrett is at 15 sacks already, and that's like 7.5 off of the record. And I think he might get pretty close to it in this game alone, as he's shown in previous games. He's had games with 5 sacks. So I don't feel good about this because the Shedeur Sanders is starting on the other side. So might be some points scored for the Raiders defense. Honestly, like if both of these defenses are on the waiver wire in your fantasy, I would pick up either of them and feel pretty good.
We could
going into the
we could see this week. We could see the only points on the board in this game being scored by defense, which would be awesome.
Yeah, what if it's like 4-2 and it's all safeties? That would be fire.
I would like a 13 to 10. 2 defensive touchdowns, a couple field goals.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Anyways, moving on to the Eagles taking on the Cowboys. Ty, this one's a good game for you. Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, Philly, obviously a strong game last week. Offensively, still some growth that needs to happen, right? You kind of talked about A.J. Brown getting more targets. Sometimes I feel like Jalen Hurts is just throwing the ball in his direction to make it look like he's getting targets. And then you'll see A.J. Brown kind of come off, run to the sideline, just look pissed as all hell that a ball was 20 yards over his head. But defensively, this team is raring on all cylinders. And Vic Fangio gave a shout out to my boy Corey David this week. He said that he's got Eastern rolling right now. Vic Fangio, Eagles defensive coordinator, Corey David, Muhlenberg, former Muhlenberg defensive coordinator, coach for the Eagles, wife works for the Eagles. Anyways, Eagles defense right now is really carrying them. And on the flip side, right, Dallas defensively looked a little bit better this past week with the addition of Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson, bringing back Demarion Overshown. They got Siobhan Ravel. They got a couple guys coming back from injury. And, Quinnen Williams made a big play, had a big sack. Obviously, they're playing the Raiders, but I mean, in weeks past, right, this is a Cowboys defense that would have got shellacked by the Raiders offense. So It was promising to see that. And on the flip side, Dallas offensively, I mean, they're just a problem. Pickens is like second in the NFL in receiving yards. CD's a dog. Ferguson's a dog. Javonte is slowed down a little bit, but he's still playing well, and that offensive line's good. I think for me, the biggest thing is just Dak Prescott at home. Against the NFC East, he's 21-2 all time. His last loss at home was in 2017, and he's 6-1 versus the Eagles at home. So he has a lot of success in Dallas, and I think that continues this week. Week 1, they played a close game, and Dallas's defense is a lot better now. I don't necessarily think that Philly's any better than they were then. So give me Dallas here.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I didn't expect this from Ty because I got Dallas as well. I just think that offense is super, super good. It looks like a top 3, top 5 unit in the NFL right now. George Pickens, my darling boy coming into the season, he's an absolute baller. He's just anytime you need him to make a play, it feels like he's making a play, whether that's drawing a defensive pass interference or translating to fantasy points, which can be frustrating sometimes. Remains to be seen. But this Philly defense has been turning it around, but I do think that Dallas's offense kind of outclasses them in this one. And then like Lane Johnson is missing from this game. So I feel like that's a very, very big swing. I think Bill Barnwell or someone tweeted out how much worse they were in terms of offensive efficiency with and without Lane Johnson. And I kind of buy into that a little bit. And then, as Ty said, this Dallas defense has gotten so much better since they played week 1. I'm just going to bet on Dallas here because I think there's a lot of value. If I was Ty, I don't know if I'd be picking an underdog, being at 1, 2, or 3 in the standings, but at me for 19th, makes some sense. So
top dogs got to do what top dogs got to do, man.
Very true.
Let me say, Bill Barnwell has been absolutely trashing Kelvin Banks Jr. So I can't
Can
take
I say
anything he
something?
said.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, just
That bald
do
fuck
not-
should just shut up. He's always saying some stupid shit.
Yes, he really is. I don't ever agree with him. I just see him pop up on my timeline, and the only time he's popping up on there is when he's going viral for being just horrifically wrong or just dumb. So not a big fan, but I will take the Eagles in this one because you guys both took the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are going to be able to win. Their offense maybe gets a little bit better. Like you guys said, the Cowboys defense has been playing well, but I do think the Eagles will be able to stop them enough on defense to eke out a close one. This one will be really fun and time. Honestly, I had no clue Dak was that successful against the NFC East, and so that's impressive. But I think the Eagles are going to win this.
Cowboys roll. They really do roll against conference opponents. It's kind of incredible.
I'm just excited to see the sun coming through the stadium at that 4 o'clock. I love it. It's so aesthetically pleasing. There's just something about it.
It's just so funny.
It also is funny because it blinds the players on the field. But when I'm sitting there on my couch and watching football, it makes it look nice and pretty. So as a fan, I can enjoy it. If I was a player, I'd be pissed. But as a fan, it's very nice to see. Anyways, moving on to the Foul Clowns taking on the Saints. Sterb, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, when the Saints have the ball, you're looking pretty much all at Tyler Shuck in this one. It's whether he can stack back-to-back solid performances. The last time we saw him, you're beating the Panthers 17-7. You hit like a few impressive throws, but you really want to see a little more from a top 40 pick, a little more consistency. And you want to see him build on that. So that's pretty much what you're watching in this one. And then when Atlanta's on offense, oh man, this team I cannot believe this team just has no sense of where they're at as a franchise. Like, we put the Rams at number 1 in our power rankings. The Rams have the Falcons' first round pick next year. That's just so stupid. It's so stupid. Pretty much the game plan for the Saints should be to hold Bijan less than 250 scrimmage yards and then blitz Kirk as much as you possibly can.
Less than 250?
Yes. That's how no one else is going to do anything on this offense. Drake London's out. Darnell Mooney had a broken collarbone this season and has played like ass. And then you really just need to blitz Kirk Cousins, and that's pretty much it. I don't think the Falcons can really score outside of Bijan. So I got the Saints in this one. I feel like that may be sort of a hot take based on, or not a hot take, but I feel like the majority might go against the Saints in this game. But I really just do think that the Falcons are kind of a shell of a team, and then Bijan Robinson right now. So I'm going to go with the Saints.
Yeah, Sterb, you are way lower than me. The Saints are officially back. Super Bowl hopes are back on for 2026. The Saints, Tyler Shuck has officially rejuvenated this franchise, and if he takes down the Foul Clowns, he is the future Drew Brees. Drew Brees will be in the dome calling the Saints game, watching over us. Lord Breezes from the top ropes will be watching over the Saints. Absolutely demolish the worst organization in the league. Give me Tyler Shuck to beat the Foul Clowns by 10 points. And yes, it definitely does help that Drake London's out and that they don't have to worry about Michael Penix, who Kirk Cousins might be better than Michael Penix at this point in time.
Here we fucking go again.
Michael Penix has played very shittily this year, and I'm not afraid to say it. And frankly, his knee injury, like this is going to derail him a little bit, right? This is his third ACL surgery, second on one leg. I don't remember which leg it was on.
This is the first time.
This is a new one. Yeah.
So it was 2 on one leg, and this is the first time on the other.
He's getting evened out.
Yeah, I don't even know if that. I don't know if that is better or worse. It is
better,
but still bad. Yeah. But yeah, give me the Saints. I'm obviously I was joking about the Super Bowl hopes, but I definitely feel a little bit better about the Saints right now than I did a few weeks ago. So give me the Saints beating the Falcons. Ty, who do you got?
Give me Kirko Chains. Kirk Cousins is gonna come out. He's gonna light it up. Him, Mooney, Pitts, Bijan. That defense. Give me the Falcons.
Alante Taylor gonna sack him, knock him out of the game.
Kirk Cousins under 23.5 steps taken in this game.
Kirk Cousins 350 yards, 3 tuds.
I will say, Saints are rocking a new uniform they never worn today, or this week.
No, not those ones.
Black helmet, black shirt, jersey, and black pants. All black. I would love to see them. I would love to see them black out the dome, send out a tweet and say everyone wear black. It would be pretty electric. Saints fans know how to show out for an Atlanta game, and so that could be.
I thought you were going to say they're one of those ugly ass gold ones.
No. And I'm happy they're not. They're pretty bad. They're not even gold. They're just tan. Like you see our names on this podcast right now. They're those colors, and it's just not. It's not a good look for a uniform. Anyways, moving on to a better game here. We got Sunday Night Football. We got the Bucs taking on the Rams. The Buccaneers obviously just losing to the Bills. The Rams squeaking by the Seahawks on a missed field goal. Both of these teams looking to show that they are a top dog in their respective divisions by a wide margin. The Bucs need to reestablish themselves over the Panthers with a win, and the Rams just need to, come out lighting it up on this game. I think if they're able to do that, they will truly show the league that they're the number one team. We all had them at number one already, but if they go out and blow out the Bucs, there's really not much more competition in the NFC for them to beat to show that they are the best team in the NFC by a wide margin. Give me the Rams here in this one. The Bucs, a solid team, but I think the Rams defense is better. I think the Rams offense is better. So I think the Rams get the win. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, give me the Rams. Bucs have a tough ass schedule, man. I mean, having to go to Buffalo and then play the Rams, that's tough. But yeah, give me the Rams.
Saints, there's a path. That division, it's open. Anyways, Sterb, who do you got?
Serious?
Go to bed, bro.
Sterb, who do you got?
Your parents don't need to go to bed.
Give me the Rams.
Let me say, I think the Panthers, like theoretically, like they could win just because they have the record, like they're tied, but I just don't see how. I think the Bucs end up getting the division, but they could be like a 8-loss team. Just they're solid enough to have more, but like you said, Ty, they've had a really tough schedule.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to Monday. Sorry, Ty, what were you about to say?
I just said in the injury bug.
Yeah, in the injury bug does not help at all. Anyways, moving on to Monday Night Football here. Ty, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, right? Carolina's been like the most up and down team in the NFL. Like they'll go out there and they'll shellac someone, and Rico Dowdle will run for 200 yards, or Tet will go off, and then the next week, like they'll lose to the Saints. Like the team doesn't make any sense, and it. I don't know. This isn't their week. Not with the way that the 49ers looked last week. Not with the way that Brock Purdy looked in his return. He looked really, really good. And to be fair, Arizona is not the best team, but they're still not a bad team. They've been competitive in a lot of these games, and it was just dominant, right? They were dominant in every facet. We kind of talked about the 49ers defense like being more impressive than we thought they were going to be early on. Once they lost Fred Warner and Bosa, and they haven't been otherworldly, but I think they do enough to beat the Panthers. Bryce Young's not going to throw for 400 yards again. Yeah, give me the 49ers.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got the 49ers as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take the 49ers here. I think the Panthers, right, like they beat the Falcons. The Falcons are going to Falcon. I say that every week. But the Panthers aren't a good team, and I love seeing that Bryce Young gets this praise, because now that just buys more time that the NFC South will get to prey on Bryce Young. Except for the Falcons, they apparently for whatever reason he comes alive against them, and it's great to see. But the Panthers aren't a good team. I think T-Mac will be really, really great for them for years to come, but they got to get him some other weapons to go alongside him and a new quarterback to really, truly become competitors once again. Anyways, that will do it for our Week 12 picks. So moving right into our rapid fire discussions for the week, we'll start off with our locks. Actually, no, we'll start off with our Hansel So Hot Right Now Player of the Week. That was a clip I was meaning to show, like when we all do really well in the locks. So ignore that. But that's a preview for what to come. Anyways, Hansel So Hot Right Now Player of the Week.
Hansel So Hot Right Now. Hansel.
Sterb, hit him with it. Who is it going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be Travion Henderson. I was pretty low on him coming into the draft, but these past 2 weeks, he's just been absolutely balling. He's second in fantasy points amongst flex players in those past 2 weeks. He has 5 touchdowns, 6 receptions for 34 yards, and then 209 yards on 6.3 per carry in the past 2 weeks. And, he gets the Bengals defense this week. It's going to be pretty ugly. I thought about saving him till next week because I'm very, very confident that he's going to improve on those numbers against probably one of the worst defenses of the past decade. But you kind of just got to go with Travion Henderson here, plainly for the touchdown numbers. I mean, he's running hot in that department, and he's just been hitting home runs and been a key part of that offense ever since Ramondre went out. So I'm giving it to Travion Henderson here.
Yeah, I think he's going to ball out again this week, and he's really had a lot of home run plays, and then outside of the home run plays, the scoring plays, he's getting stuffed at a good rate, which is interesting to see, but he's just balling out when he gets the opportunity. There's he needs just one play, and yep. His whole outlook changes. Anyways, Ty, what are your thoughts on Travion?
I love Travion. I was high on him in the draft. I wanted Denver to possibly take him in the first. He's not going to be the guy that gets you 3-4 yards of carry. He's not the chunk guy, right? That's more what Judkins was for them. He is the home run guy. He's the guy in the pass game that can take a screen 70 yards. He's the guy in the run game that get him to the edge, and he's a problem. And, he's been, like I said before, an awesome addition to this offense that desperately needed some more help in the run game.
Anyways, moving on to our locks and underdogs snake draft of the week. Locks are worth +2, -3 if you get them wrong. Underdogs are +3, -1 if you get them wrong. Sterb, you were 3 for 3 this past week, earned 7 points. Ty and I both got 3 with our underdogs being wrong. So, Sterb, who do you want or which spot do you want to pick at in this draft?
I believe that I will take. I think I'm going to take the 2 spot. I'm going to take the 2 spot.
I like it. Ty, I'll let you pick your spot here first.
Give me 3.
I like it. I'll take the number 1. I'm forcing the number 1, but at the number 1, I will take the Colts as my underdog pick of the week because it's the only underdog I actually picked for this week. So got to take them there. Anyways, Sterb, who's going to be your pick at number 2?
I'm going to go ahead and lock the Ravens over the Jets.
Okay. Ty, who do you got at 3 and the turn?
Give me Cowboys upset and give me Jenks. Who did you go?
I went India, the Colts over.
Give me Seattle over the Titans.
Okay. That would have been my number 1 lock. Sterb, who you have at your second pick?
Yeah, I'm happy with how this turned out. I'm going to take the Lions over the Giants here.
It's a good pick. There's a few different teams I'm looking at here. I like the Packers a lot in this one just because they're playing 9. Patriots aren't a bad pick. I'm going back to back. Give me the Patriots for my first lock just because I'm doing it in order here in which I think is more likely to hit. And then I'll take, do I want the Bears or do I want the Packers? Give me the Packers here as my second lock. Sterb, who do you got for your third pick?
Double checking that there's no other teams that I want as my underdog. Yeah, I'm going with Shedeur this week, and it's my underdog. I'm going to go with the Browns over the Raiders.
I'm going to throw up.
Ty does not like it at all. Anyway, Ty, who's going to be your third pick?
I just don't like it because it's Jerry Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders on the same football field. It's literally
It's great football. I don't know what you're talking
about. Give me – I mean, I have to do it, right? I got to do it. Thursday Night Football. Give me the Buffalo Bills. Lock of the week.
Let's go.
He's got to keep
I'm on a Thursday Night Football hot streak. All the haters were saying I couldn't do it. God damn it. I got like 4 in a row.
What do you mean? You weren't doing it. You literally were not doing it.
Yeah, and then I did.
It was very rough for Ty for a few weeks, but now he's back and better than ever. Anyways, moving on to our fantasy sleepers of the week. Ty, who's your fantasy sleeper of the week going to be?
Yeah, speaking of that game, even though I think Buffalo is going to win, give me Woody Marks. I think Woody Marks might run all over Buffalo. We saw what Sean Tucker was able to do. Week in and week out, this Buffalo defense has been one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. I think they're still bottom 2. I mean, they were at 31st for like a really long time, and it's just not. It's going to continue. Woody Marks has been getting more and more carries, more of the lion's share of the carries the past couple of weeks. I think he had 18 carries last week, a couple catches. With Davis Mills probably in, with CJ Stroud out, I think they're going to have to rely on Woody Marks. And give me Woody Marks, fantasy sleeper of the week.
Sterb, who's your fantasy sleeper of the week going to be?
Yeah, so I would have the same one as last week because he didn't end up playing. Darius Slayton with Jameis Winston again. He's questionable this week. Kind of a match made in heaven, if you ask me. But I'll give another one, and that's going to be Brock Wright versus the Giants. Laporta went to injured reserve this past week, and with him out, we saw Brock Wright 2 receptions on 7 targets, and 4 of them are quick targets. So they're trying to get him a little more involved in the offense. And I mean, in this Giants game, we see what happens after the Lions, and take a tough loss. I think they're probably going to have 6-7 touchdowns in this one. And the Lions probably are going to score a lot of points in this one. So I think any way you can find to play a Lion this week in your lineup, when you're breaking a tie, especially, give me Brock Wright. And he's very cheap. He's out on waiver wires right now. If you're in a deeper league, I think he's a very good bet to score a touchdown this week.
Yeah, my fantasy sleeper of the week is going to be Kayshon Boutte. A few weeks ago, I said you can't forget about the Boutte, and he's back and better than ever this week. Kayshon Boutte's been a guy that when he gets rolling with Drake May, they're practically unstoppable when it comes to fantasy. He's scoring like 10 to 15 points every single game, and I think that'll happen again this week against a weaker defense. So give me Kayshon Boutte as my fantasy sleeper of the week. Anyways, moving on to hot takes. Ty, what's your hot take of the week going to be?
Yeah, my hot take is that Shedeur Sanders gets sacked 4+ times and throws 2+ interceptions. Obviously, we talked a lot about the tape, right? The fading, the holding on to the ball, the slow release. It's all a problem, and you're going up against a guy like Max Crosby. I said 4+ sacks. He could get sacked 6-7 times. Like it could be really bad against a defense that's not really that great. So give me 4+ sacks, 2+ interceptions for sure.
Sterb, what's your hot take of the week going to be?
Yeah, I'll say about the Shedeur thing. Like, oftentimes I just wonder what these matchups look like in practice, where it's like you have Myles Garrett on the other side. I mean, I know that's more of a full contact thing, and you're not necessarily doing a bunch of full contact in the season, but I mean, it's going to look horrendous. Hot take for me, I kind of mentioned it with the Brock Wright thing, is that the Lions score 45 against the Giants. I just think, anytime Dan Campbell has a chip on his shoulder after losing a close game to a, contender, he's going to be like, okay, I'll score as many points as I want. And then they just do. So at 45+ for the Lions this week.
My hot take of the week is going to be that Myles Garrett ties or breaks the single game sack record in this one.
7?
The Raiders' offensive line has been absolutely atrocious, and I think they're going to be able to bottle up Ashton Genty to the point where they have to throw the ball with Geno Smith. And when Geno Smith gets to pass, he's going to get hit on most plays, and I think Myles Garrett will be there. We've seen him do it against better O-line than the Raiders. He's gonna get close. The realistic take, right, I think, is that he gets 4 sacks. I think that's like the realistic take, but the hot take is that he ties or breaks that record.
Max and Myles
then he would
10 sacks.
Yeah, and that would be incredible.
if he ties or gets the single season or single game sack record, then he's going to tie or break the single season sack record as well.
Oh, he'll hammer it if he does that.
Oh yeah, he's going to hit it this season.
But it would be in this game if he breaks the record.
Yeah.
If he gets like 7.5, well,
if he breaks one, he breaks both.
But it would be awesome.
Yeah, the record's 22.5. So if he gets 7,
yeah, it would be. He would tie it. It would be one below.
Maybe a 6-7 sacks.
Yeah, 6-7. So, anyways, that'll do it for our Week 12 picks. We ran a little bit longer than we expected for this one, but it was still a good episode. Top 5 picks, Shedeur, and our weekly picks as well. You guys know where to find us on social media at Jenks Island and wherever you get your podcast at Jenks Island. 2. We will see you guys next week.